Okay people, so I just kind of want to show you what's going on with the sun visors for my Corvette. I have a 2005 C6 Corvette, and as you probably know with those cars, the little flip-up door for the mirror always breaks off. Now, I really don't care about having a mirror. I'm a guy, like, who gives a crap? I'm not doing my makeup with it or anything, and my wife can just kind of, you know, do her makeup before she gets in the car if she's riding along with me. So that's how I feel about that. So that being said, the mirrors can go. I am going to recover / reupholster my visors without the mirror being in place. So I disassembled it. I used a seam ripper, pulled out the leather that was there. Obviously I cannot reuse the covering that was there because it's got the hole for the mirror, but I bought another material that I found looked similar to the interior of the car. I'm going to use that. And I just want to show you the process of kind of doing that. So obviously I have used some, this is poster board actually. I put one layer of it, you know, laid it out flat, traced it out, and used some 3M spray adhesive to spray on here. I'm probably going to have to do another layer because you can still kind of see right here the ridge of where the mirror is at. You see what I'm talking about? That ridge going down the spine of it. So I'm probably gonna have to put at least one more layer. I might put a layer on the inside as well. And then I put I think 2 or 3 layers here to kind of fill the gap. And I just made it even with how thick that is. Again, using 3M spray adhesive, hold everything together. So from there, the next thing I'm gonna do is I do not have a sewing machine that can sew through 2 layers of cardboard and 4 layers of the material that I'm gonna use. So my plan to do then is to reuse the existing holes that are going around and just hand stitch it. Now, the way it was on the side, it just kind of was folded in with the old material. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just going to put the old sun visor down in here, put this over it, and then stitch it with the mechanics in place, instead of sliding the mechanics in and then having to stitch around all that. So that's my plan. These holes do not go around here, so I kind of traced, you know, where it needs to go, kind of eyeballing it. And then from there, I'm going to take a pair of calipers and measure the distance from hole to hole, and then mark where each hole is supposed to go. Come back with a punch and punch all those holes out, and just kind of fold this over and do the same thing. So if you want to follow along, be my guest. You can see how I fix this. Maybe it will inspire you to fix yours as well, instead of paying you know, $800 to replace the 2 visors, because I think they're about $400 each. So stay tuned. Okay, so I've deviated a little bit from the original plan. I went to Michael's and bought some 1/16, I think it's 1/16 birch plywood. Maybe it's 1/8. No, I think it's 1/16. 1/16 for sure. And I cut it out a little bit past where the stitching is going to go through. That way I wouldn't have to punch through the birch plywood. And I cut it out to be the same pattern as this. And as you can see here, I made it to where it does not interfere where it's going to fold over. And I went ahead and glued it onto this. Now to glue everything in place, I used a thin cyano acrylic hobby glue. I got it off Amazon. I think it was like 10-15 bucks. This is an up close of that, so you can see what I used. But by the way, when you use that stuff, make sure you go outside. Don't let the fumes get in your face. Try not to let it come in contact with your skin. It can burn your skin. It's really bad stuff. It's really fast acting super glue essentially. And my nostrils anyways will close up for like 3 days solid. I won't be able to breathe out of my nostrils if I inhale that stuff. So try to keep it away from your face when you're using it. Make sure you're in a well ventilated place. But this stuff does work really well, and it glued everything down really good right here. And then what I did was I came back with some really coarse sandpaper and sanded it. You can probably see right here with a sanding block, just to kind of knock it down nice and even, because there were a couple high spots like right there. So that I did that, and I think this has come out pretty good. And I'm going to do just like I did with this one, and that is covered with a couple of layers of poster board, just to kind of you know, so you're not getting this texture right here when you put the vinyl on it. And then from there, the next step I'm going to do is go ahead and retrace the hole pattern from this one over onto the other one and punch all the holes through it like I've done here, because it's already had it punched in this part. The only part it didn't have it punched in was the poster board. So I'll go ahead and punch all those through, and then I'll be ready to put my vinyl on. Okay, so this is my next step. I took a little bit of this stuff because I had some extra just sitting around in my garage here. Sprayed it on the outer side of this, and then just put it right down on some poster board. Again, that's so that you don't get that texture coming through from where the mirror used to be. So I've done that. I'm just going to take this, cut it out with a pair of scissors now. Okay, so I'm ready to go ahead and adhere the material to it. This is the material I got. It's kind of thick, kind of resembles my interior color. It's vinyl, it's not leather, but it looks pretty close, so I'm going to roll with it. I went to a local fabric store. I didn't find any leather, but I found this. It's good enough for me. It wasn't too expensive. I don't remember the price, but it was maybe like 20 bucks tops. Don't even think it was that much. I bought it quite a while ago. Anyways, what I did was I overlaid the two here and went ahead and punched those extra holes that go around using my little needle punch business. And then I'm going to use that spray adhesive that I used before. Spray the back side of this really good, and then just stick this right to it. Okay, so I've gone ahead and trimmed the edges here and went around and poked all the little holes. You can't see them too well, but that's fine. I can see them good enough to be able to hand stitch that later. So you can see it's not looking too bad here. It's looking pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and take the CA glue again. I'm just gonna fold this over and then give it a little dot there, because this stuff dries like instantly and it'll make a pretty good bond. So I'm gonna go all around. I've kind of very cautiously cut this. Same thing here, you wanna fold this over, get it nice and tight in there. Same thing over here and over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull all this around, get the edges all glued down. And then the next step will be to fold this over the other part of the visor that has the actual rod in it. And you can see it was glued here before, so I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna use a little epoxy and glue it back down. And then after that, I'll come back and hand stitch it. But for now, I'm gonna get this glued over. Okay, so after going around the entire visor here, this is what I've got. Notice the way that I kind of pinched up the corners to pull it tight around the edges here. What you're going to do is come back with either some scissors or a nice sharp razor blade and just kind of cut that off to get it out of the way, because it's not really going to lay flat enough for when you upholster it. But this is what you've got once you get to this point. It's not looking too bad. So I'm going to set this one aside, let it dry up real good, and work on the other one. Okay, so after you've given some time for your stuff to dry, what I did was I took a razor blade and just kind of wiggled it back and forth to cut off the excess. I tried not to get too close to the edge because I didn't want it to obviously be visible from the edge here. So the next thing you're going to do is you've got the actual internal part of this. What you've got to do is, just like you can see here before, this was actually glued to this. So I'm going to take some 5-minute epoxy, I'm going to mix it up, and I'm going to fold it over, and then I'm going to put it on the ground and put a couple weights on top of it and just let it cure for a couple of hours. And then I'm going to come back and stitch it up. I want to pay close attention to the way that this part particularly lines up when that's back in there. You want that to be straight. You want to make sure that this is all the way up in that spine and that everything is where it's supposed to be. So that's the next step. Just mix up that epoxy. All right, everybody, so this is the final step of making your sun visors. I'm gonna go ahead and stitch it. Well, actually, let me rewind here. I had punched the holes in before down the side with the markings that were on the card. And I came back, decided to come back and push this all the way through both of them. I've kind of gone down this way. Now, obviously, this would be a lot more easy to do with an industrial sewing machine, but I do not happen to have one of those. So this is the way I'm gonna have to do it. So I'm gonna stitch it. I ran a thread through both sides, one single thread, and I put a needle on each end, one here, one over here. And the way I'm going to stitch this is I'm going to take this, push it through this side, pull it all the way through, and then I'm going to take this one, push it through this side, the same hole, pull it all the way through, and then pull them both tight. And then I'm going to go to the next hole and do the same thing. Put one needle through, put the other needle through from the other side, through the same hole, pull it tight. And I'm going to continue to make my way all the way around the sun visor doing that. Now this is going to take a while. It's going to require some patience. It's going to be a pain in the butt. It's not going to be fun. So I'm going to sit here and watch some TV while I do it. But I think it should end up with a pretty good result. I'll show you what I've got when I'm all finished. But that's going to be my technique. Okay, so after a few hours of stitching, this is what I've got. Not a bad looking little sun visor to go in the car. It doesn't have the stupid mirror thing to break again. It definitely cost me less than the freaking $800 it would have been to buy new ones. So I'm just going to install these in the car. They look pretty good, I would say, for my first time ever doing any upholstery work. I'm definitely happy with the product. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this helps you out in working on your project. And make sure you subscribe to my channel and like my videos as well to see a lot of other how-to videos. Thank you again.